I'm going to say, Kristen, if I had the choice of living in one of those colder Democratic states or moving to Florida and living in the sunshine, I know where I'd go.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy choice for a lot of people, especially when these colder states are being run into the ground by these Democrats who just spend and tax all the working people. So it's become unlivable for many families in these places, particularly New York.
Yeah, I was amazed to read a couple of weeks back the Australian company Westfield built this beautiful big shopping centre right in the middle of San Francisco. You might have been there. It's been there probably about 10 years. I was there about 10 years ago when it opened. They're now going to shut that down because no one's going to downtown San Francisco to shop because of the decline it's in.
That is exactly right. In fact, about a decade ago, I was in San Francisco visiting some friends, and I naively, I'm a New Hampshire girl. That's where I'm from. I parked my car on the side of a big park there. I woke up in the morning, all the windows were smashed in my car and all the things were stolen out of it. That was 10 years ago. It's gotten a lot worse since then. The place is riddled with crime. Of course, anyone who tries to actually work and do things the right way gets more than half their money seized by various levels of government. You're looking at state government taxes, city government taxes, and then, of course, federal taxes. Criminals are out of control. The schools are failing. So people are picking up. They are moving down to places like Florida and places like Texas, where I live now. But DeSantis has been a shining light in this country of good governance. And I know a lot of liberals, even people who are still in California, who just have to admit that things are looking really good in Florida. And that comes down not just to the good weather, but to good policy.
Kristen, given you're a Texas resident now, you'd always keep your eye on the border. How much is border control going to be an election issue? It's been an election issue, as you know, in Australia, election after election, when we had our issues with illegal boat entries. It seems to me from a distance that the US border is just leaking as bad as it ever has. Who's tougher on border control? Trump, DeSantis, Biden? Who?
Well, I suspect DeSantis would be the toughest on border control. Of course, Trump would be much better than Biden. But a lot of this comes down to the media, because now that there's a Democrat in office, nobody here in the media wants to talk about the border. Just look the other way. There's nothing going on down there. But us in Texas, we know exactly what's going on the border. It is out of control, especially since Title 42 was dropped, which was one way that, border agents were able to kind of keep control down there by not letting some of them in due to COVID concerns. That's gone now. So it's basically a wide open border. People are let in. They're given this court date way in the future. And of course, very few of them actually show up to court. This is having profound impacts on Texas City, Steve. I live in Houston. It is not a border city. And yet still, our schools are overflooded with non-English speaking students. The hospitals, forget about it. If you need to go to the ER, you are in for an hours-long wait. There is a ton of crime. Drugs are all over the place. It is noticeably worse over the last decade. It's just going to get even more worse. Projections are that as many as 3.6 million illegal immigrants could come over our border this year. I mean, for reference for your viewers, Houston, where I live, we only have like 2.4 million residents. This is like importing large new U.S. cities into the country every single year. You cannot do that for years and years and years with no consequences. Eventually, the whole house of cards collapses.
Kristen Tate, always a pleasure to catch up with you. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, Steve.